Hello all, this video is just talking through Beast from the East, which is a case study used at Gcse in the natural hazard section. As it says here on the screen, you would use this case study if it was asking you about an extreme weather event. So sometimes in the exam they give you a figure, it can be of things like a heat wave potentially, or you might get some data about a cold weather event, and then you always use that classic phrase, and your own knowledge. And this is where you'd want to use Beast from the East as the and your own knowledge part, which is your case study. This case study then you have to know three things about. So you need to know what caused Beast from the East, you need to know a little bit about its impacts, and then you need to know about how, as a UK, we manage this event. So some background to tackle that causes bit then. This event started back in 2018, but it was the 22nd of February. In terms of what caused this then, it was a huge anticyclone. So with an anticyclone like this one, it brought about lots of high pressure, cold temperatures, clear skies, and of course clear skies then and cold temperatures brings with it lots of heavy snowfall like you can see in the picture, and it affected areas then across England, Wales and Scotland. The figure here, particularly the bit on the right, is the weather warning from at the time where it happened. So those areas that sort of highlighted in yellow are the areas that had a yellow weather warning, which meant that yes, they did get quite a bit of snow, but the areas in amber, so in that orange colour then, got quite a bit more snow than other areas, and they're the areas that are, in theory, the most severely impacted, and so the ones you want to talk about. So like the Midlands, for example, or in southern parts of London. If I think a bit more about these causes then, well, to drill down into that anticyclone we were talking about a minute ago, we're basically saying, well, it was caused by the cold air mass then that moved across the North Sea from Siberia. And that cold air mass that moved across again brought with it clear skies, loads of high pressure, and the perfect conditions then temperature-wise for that snowfall to happen. The second thing that happened was the shift in the jet stream, which then allowed that cold air to blow in with it. And then air just below freezing and all the moisture that was travelling across from this North Sea generated all of that snow for us. So to summarise here, we're saying loads of cold air, the change in the jet stream, pushing that cold air across from Siberia, across the North Sea, picking up moisture, generated lots of snow for us in the UK. So that culminated then in impacts. So remember in geography, we always want to categorise impacts into three groups. We say social, economic, environmental, and again, those are good buzzwords to use in the exam. So if I was learning this for the exam, I would try and have one social impact, one economic and one environmental impact that are easy enough for me to remember. So socially, you've got things ranging from 10 people dying, hundreds of schools were forced to close, you've got rail services cancelled, homes without power. But again, in the exam, if you were to forget, picture the UK on a particular snowy day. A lot of these impacts are common sense, aren't they? Okay, so schools closing, well, you know, every time we get heavy snow in the UK, the schools do close. So it wouldn't be unreasonable to suggest that in the exam. Economic impacts here then, well, we had unfortunately flights cancelled from Heathrow, airports cancelled a lot of their services, they shut, commuters couldn't get to work, businesses without power, and if I was explaining those in the exam using that phrase, this means that, businesses without power, this means that they were unable to trade and therefore make money, would be the way that I would explain that to get more marks. Environmentally then, we've got wind speeds exceeding 70 miles an hour, drifting snow led to villages being isolated, 10 to 20 centimetres of snow, I think that's my favourite fact, across 3 days. I could link these together as well. So if it asked me to discuss the impacts, well, the most severe impact was, that's again me showing my analysing to get more marks, the most severe impact was 10 to 20 centimetres of snow falling across 3 days. Economically, this left businesses without power, which meant that they were unable to trade and make money. In addition to this, one social impact was hundreds of schools were forced to close, which left children without education for the day, would be perhaps how I might explain that in the exam. On the flip side, if I was looking at management, I might say, well, okay, this has happened now. What did we do in response to it? And again, I can talk about this as positive or negative, couldn't I? But our management here is weather warnings are issued. We saw that right at the start of this video when I showed you that figure. So therefore, some of the UK decided to declare a major incident. We were worried about it. Okay, essentially, we knew it was going to grind the UK to a halt. Some of the impacts we were expecting, others maybe not so. The Environment Agency issuing flood warnings for Cornwall. Residents told to expect tides around 400 millimetres, another great fact there. The RAF, we use them. They transported doctors and stranded patients. They helped the police force that struggled to cope. The military helped to rescue vehicles. In Edinburgh, soldiers were deployed then to help transport NHS staff, which is fantastic. So, in short to this, there were loads of short-term responses, weren't there? We had warnings in place. We had started to think about possibly if we needed to evacuate people. We had help for the NHS and the healthcare services. Long term here, you can see there isn't really much, is there? So if it's asking me to evaluate that in the exam, well, short-term impacts were highly successful because, okay? I hope this is sort of like a useful summary. As I said, it's a small case study, so to know a couple of facts, like 3 impacts and a couple of bits of management, should be sufficient for the exam. Best of luck.